Good to go. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have amazing weather today for this event, and rightfully so. My name is Chad Collins, Member of Parliament for Hamilton East Stoney Creek. And I wish to acknowledge first that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, and to recognize that Ontario is home to many diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis. For me, I just want to thank everyone for their attendance. And, as someone who was a longtime councillor for the Hamilton Beach community, the whole issue of access to the piers has been one of those nagging issues that just we couldn't resolve over the last couple of years. And so I'm so pleased to be joined by my colleagues and representatives here today, especially the ministers and our mayors who fought very hard to increase public access to the waterfront. And for those of you who know the investments that both Burlington and Hamilton have made over the years, both communities, in partnership with other levels of government and other stakeholders, have invested tens of millions of dollars in order to increase the public's access to our waterfront areas, both around the harbor and along the lakeshore. And so today's announcement goes a long way in a long line of investments that have allowed people to visit our waterfront areas and enjoy, in this instance, the pier as pedestrians, cyclists, and urban anglers. It was a little difficult for me to get in today because of the fences and the gates, and irony of all ironies. And so I think those gates and those fences symbolize where we were 40 or 50 years ago. As a young boy, I was here when the tall ships came in the mid-'80s. And for those of us who were there at that event, we were huddled on an asphalt pier, surrounded by fences, looking through those fences at the tall ships as they made their way into the harbor. And so we've come a long way over the years. Both communities have made tremendous investments in our waterfront parks and our waterfront trails and other public amenities to make it a people place. And so I'm honored to be here today with my colleagues to celebrate another piece of that puzzle in terms of the transfer of the pier to the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority. And so I would like to, at this point in time, call upon Minister Alghabra, Minister of Transport.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Chad. You basically, read my whole speech. So
Here you go. Next.
I just want to say good morning, everyone. Sorry we're a bit late, but thank you all for being here. I want to thank my colleagues, certainly Chad, for that kind intro, Karina and Lisa for being here. I want to certainly thank the two great mayors of Hamilton and Burlington for being here, and also City Councillor, and Ian Hamilton for being here. This has been, as Chad has mentioned, an ongoing discussion for many, many months, certainly since I've been appointed Minister of Transport. And, I often make announcements that include millions and millions, dozens of millions of dollars that are critical to our infrastructure, to our supply chains. But it's not often that we have announcements that doesn't have a lot of money, yet significant impact on the local community. So it's really a delight to be part of this announcement today. As many of you know, Transport Canada owns these Burlington Canal Piers. They were built for marine transportation purposes. But as you all know, over the years, these piers have become an integral part of the community, part of the pedestrian network for our local residents. And it's become clear that the purpose of this pier is becoming much bigger or more comprehensive than just for local marine transportation. And Transport Canada doesn't usually have the expertise nor the ability to maintain these piers for those purposes. And over the last few months, we've been having discussions with local communities, with local mayors, with local MPs who've been advocating our government to make sure that we find a way moving forward to ensure that the utilities of these piers remain open to local communities. They are incredibly meaningful for local communities for all kinds of purposes, including, I think, wedding photos. So it's significant utility for local communities. And after months of examination of options, I am really delighted to say that the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority stepped up and offered its expertise, its local community involvement, and wanted to step up and say, we can find a way to manage these assets to maintain its original purpose, but also keep it open for local communities. So I'm really, really grateful to Ian and HOPA for stepping up and once again demonstrating great community leadership, great vision for our local, not only local economy, but certainly local community. So HOPA remains an exceptional corporate citizen that once again demonstrates leadership. So I'm really, really delighted for moving forward in this regard. As you just saw, I was able to hand over the keys to Ian as of July 2nd. HOPA will be responsible for the management of these piers. I know that there's still a lot of work to be done to rehabilitate the piers and ensure it's safe usage, but at least now we have a plan moving forward. So I'm not going to read my pre-prepared remarks. I just wanted to express my gratitude to my colleagues who are local MPs here for their advocacy on behalf of their local residents to ensure that this is done. Once again, thank you to the two mayors and city council of both cities and to HOPA for stepping up and finding a way moving forward that ensures that the community continues to have access to these piers. Thank you very much, and I'll hand it over back to Chad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I'd now like to call upon Minister Karina Gould, Minister of Families, Children, Social Development, and Member of Parliament for Burlington. Minister.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chad, for emceeing today. And a really big thank you to Minister Alghabra. And Minister, we're always ready to welcome you back for significant financial investments as well. But I actually just want to take a moment to say thank you to Minister Alghabra, because as Chad mentioned, the issue of the piers and access to the piers has been a really important issue for the communities in Burlington and Hamilton. And it's been a source of frustration for people who want to be close to the water, who want to make that part of their recreation. Many conversations that I had with Marianne Meed Ward and Councillor Galbraith and Mayor Eisenberger about how integral and important the piers are to our communities. The connection with the waterfront trail, the connection that continues on these amazing recreational investments that have been made both in Burlington and Hamilton, and the fact that so many people in our community use the piers for leisure purposes, while we also understand that they are working piers. And so we do need to make sure that they are maintained so that ships and boats and maritime vehicles can continue to pass through here safely while we maintain public safety. And if there was anything that we saw during the pandemic was how important the piers really became to our community. When there wasn't a whole lot of other things to do, there is a lot of walking and cycling and fishing that happened on these piers. And it's thanks to the creativity and the flexibility and the ingenuity of Minister Alghabra, the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority, the cities of Burlington and Hamilton, that came up with this new solution that I think is creative and one that will respond to the needs of the community. And I can tell you that Chad, Lisa, and I, and Philomena as well, have done a lot of advocacy over the past particularly year plus on these piers, and we're really pleased with the result that has come about. And I'm really excited about what this will mean for our community. Minister Alghabra was talking about Ian Hamilton, the president of the Hamilton Port, Hamilton-Oshawa, I keep forgetting to add Oshawa, Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority, because they've recently amalgamated, in their leadership here, and I'm going to mention Larissa Fern as well, because she's been a huge piece of this puzzle in terms of the vision for what the Port Authority waterfront will look like and how it can be open and accessible to the piers. You know, one of the things that I always appreciated growing up in Burlington was the connection to the water. Burlington and Hamilton are waterfront communities, and we have a long, proud tradition of being on the water. You know, our steel industry is in large part where it is thanks to the access to the water and shipping on the Great Lakes. The port in Hamilton is one of the most important in the country, and it continues to grow and continues to flourish. And to enable our local residents to be part of that in a safe and meaningful way is something that I think is going to be really, really exciting. So I'm just really thrilled that we've gotten to today. As Minister Alghabra said, there's lots of work to do, but as of July 2nd, HOPA are the proud new owners of these Burlington Canal Piers, and I know that our two communities in Burlington and Hamilton are really looking forward to what they have in store and getting back out there and enjoying that proximity and closeness to water and doing the things that we love to do. You know, my favorite Sunday morning activity is hopping on my bike with my son and riding along here and going to Hutch's and grabbing an ice cream, and going out onto the piers was always a fun thing to do as well. So really a big thank you to everyone who came together, found a creative solution, and I know that this will be a successful endeavor, and we look forward to continuing to partner and supporting the work with HOPA. So thank you very much, everyone. Merci.
Thank you, Minister Gould. I'd now like to call upon President Ian Hamilton of the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority. Ian?
Thank you very much, and thanks for everyone coming. One of the biggest priorities for the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority is to make the communities that we operate in to be very proud to live in a port city. And I think this is a wonderful step in that direction. Today we're taking another huge step towards achieving the community's recreational vision for Fisherman's Pier. As you know, earlier this year, between the cooperation of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans and Public Works, we took over ownership of the lighthouse, and now we're in the process of relocating it, which is one of the jewels in the crown here, and the other jewel in the crown is going to be definitely the piers. We know that you love the piers very, very much. We also think that they can be better than they are now. And as Mr. Alghabra said, I just got the keys, but I'm already getting asked what's our next steps. So I thought I would share that with you. And the first step is, again, capturing the vision of the whole community. And today's announcement means that HOPA will take local responsibility of these structures for their transportation purposes. And it gives us the ability to lease them to the municipalities for recreational uses. We've already begun talking to the cities of Hamilton and Burlington and the region of Halton, and we believe we all want the same thing. We've asked the people to be a little patient. There's work to be done on safety elements in the near term, and that's the role of HOPA. In the meantime, we're pleased that the municipalities have expressed interest in leasing the piers for $1 as part of the recreational infrastructure that connects here from the waterfront trail to the beachfront park. And that's the key to the reopening. And even Fred isn't arguing about the $1. It will take some time to get there. It will take some time to get there, and we want to manage expectations about that, but this is the first step. When they're improved, these piers will be a wonderful complement to the Fisherman's Pier development with a relocated and restored lighthouse, keeper's cottage, and new spaces in the central plaza for public events and programming. Thank you, Minister Alghabra, and those involved in helping Hamilton and Burlington achieve a wonderful facility to celebrate our rich maritime history. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And I just say before we wrap up, I want to thank our community advocates who fought long and hard. I've had the honor and the privilege of working with the Hamilton Beach Community Council, who have fought for initiatives, as Ian just referenced, the restoration of the lighthouse. They've obviously fought for the public amenities and the improvements that both communities have made over the years. And I think the pier today, the issue that we've talked about and its importance to community, is an example again of grassroots community people who fought long and hard and have politely nudged us over the last couple of months and couple of years. People like Matt Francis, who's here today, and others who've fought to make this a public place. And so I just want to say thank you to those people who've advocated long and hard for today's announcement. With that being said, I'd now like to turn it over to Nadine Ramadan, Issues Manager to Minister Alghabra, who will moderate the question and answer session. Nadine?
Portion of the event. It's one question and one follow-up per reporter. You can use this mic over here. Do we have a first question?
I'm just going to lower this. Good morning, Minister. My question is for you. My name's Kelly. I'm with CH News. So, does this mean the fences are coming down? And what were the purpose of the fences in the first place?
Good morning, Kellyanne. First, let me talk about the reason why fences were put up. As I said, originally these piers were built for marine transportation. And as the local community's usage of the pier increased, the risks of safety risks increased, so that the short-term measure was to try to manage or limit risk on the piers. But we knew that this was a short-term because we certainly wanted to make sure that the piers remain accessible to the community, but work is needed prior to opening the piers. So the fences were put up as a temporary measure to manage the risks for residents. And now, as we are handing over the responsibility of the piers to HOPA, HOPA has a plan for how to upkeep and maintain and upgrade the piers so it's safer for pedestrians and cyclists and others, yet is still safe for marine transportation. So that's why we had to do this short-term measure, and the plan is I'm sure Ian will be happy to answer this question. They have a plan to rehabilitate the piers to make sure that it's safer, that it's usable for pedestrians and others, and hopefully, I'll let him answer that question, but there is a plan moving forward.
Thanks. Maybe just to expand on that, yeah. So our first step is going to be to address the safety concerns. We would anticipate it's a couple $1 million to invest into that area, and then we'll be in a position to hand them over to the cities of Burlington and Hamilton to run them and deal with the amenities. And we're targeting having them open in the spring of next year.
My next question is for Mayor Marianne Meed Ward. Now that you can, I guess, rent the pier for $1, what do you see happening here? What does the community want? I heard somebody mention wedding photos. Is there anything else you can envision here?
Well, when I heard this described as a port city, I thought our next festival should be Port on the Ports. So you know what, we're only limited by people's imagination and creativity, which is really limitless. People have used this to walk, to get exercise, for bird watching. There's some pretty incredible cameras just down the way from where we are, people watching the birds, fishing, boating. It is absolutely incredible. And so the public really sees this as their pier, and we are the stewards of it. And so it's really exciting to see this announcement. I know everyone has been working really hard together to make this happen. We all want this to be reopened, and we all want it to be safe, and that's coming.
Hi, Lisa Pileski from CHML. I guess this would be for Ian Hamilton, since you're now going to be in charge starting July 2nd. Just want to confirm that, the public will still have access during this next year period. They will, nothing will change down here. They can still kind of do as they're doing, bird watching and things like that. There won't be any sort of, just wondering what the safety improvements will look like from the public perspective and their use of the pier.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's our intention to keep the area open, with the exception of the piers, until we've done the safety work on that. The only the exciting thing is we're going to have to fence off a little area while we move the lighthouse, and that'll be kind of a fun thing to watch as well. But no, we have every intention of keeping it open, and including the boat launch. Thanks.
Have any more questions?
I have a question for the Minister. Minister, would you mind stepping up? I just have to frame you because I'm a one-man band today. So thank you very much, and I'll throw my question at you, okay?
You can ask me the question, then I'll wait for you.
Okay, very good. Okay. So here is the question that they sent me to ask you. Sorry, 1 second. They're saying documents obtained by CTV News show that CATSA anticipated an increase in passenger traffic for 2022 back in May of 2021. The question is, how come your government was warned a year ago about this issue, yet Canadians are still facing huge delays?
Thank you for the question. Look, obviously we anticipated the return to travel. Travel shrunk by 90% during the pandemic. We knew that travel was coming back, but very few predicted the surge of travel that is happening right now. People thought it would be gradual because of fear of COVID, because business meetings were still being done virtually. So the nature of the surge and the pace of the surge was not exactly as anticipated. Having said that, we were prepared. We had resources added to CATSA, but we certainly needed to increase the resources once we saw the nature of the surge. And let me just say, the delays at airports are frustrating for many, and it's frustrating to me as well. Over the last several weeks, I've been telling Canadians about all the measures that we've been putting in place, from adding CATSA resources to CBSA resources to adjusting public health measures to improving on airport flow processes. What we're seeing now, and we're seeing significant improvements that's taken place at CATSA line, at CBSA lines, but what we're seeing today, we're continuing to see flight delays and luggage handling issues. Those are issues that we are working with airlines and airports at handling and responding to. This continues to be a frustrating matter, but it continues to be a priority for our government.
As a quick follow-up, they're saying that as of May, CATSA staffing levels were actually above the 2020 levels at Pearson. Why are there still huge delays at the airport if the staffing exceeded the pandemic levels, pre-pandemic levels?
Sure, you're absolutely right. CATSA's staffing level in Pearson now is beyond what it was pre-pandemic, and we have seen significant improvement. Today, 91% of passengers waiting in CATSA line are processed within 15 minutes or less, which is a significant improvement from where it used to be 3-4 weeks ago. Having said that, what we're seeing today is issues of scheduling, flight scheduling, issues of extreme peaks, and we're not seeing as much delays at CATSA line as we are seeing delays with flights being canceled or being rescheduled. So we continue to work with airlines and airports at dealing in responding to these issues, but I could tell you that the improvements that we saw at CATSA over the last few weeks have been significant, and that's thanks a lot to CATSA's abilities to enhance resources and to manage these extreme peaks. It is urgent for our government. We are working with airlines and airports. Last Thursday, I met with the 4 biggest airports in the country, with the 2 largest airlines in the country, to re-emphasize how important it is that we all work together. As I said, on our end, we have done everything we can that is within the control of the federal government. Now we need to work with airlines and airports at dealing with the flight delays and luggage handling issues, because we need the cooperation of airlines and airports to address these issues. We continue to work on it. We are focused on it, and I want Canadians to know that we're extremely focused on it, and we are working in partnership with airlines and airports.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, that concludes the Q&A portion of this event. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.